Next match, the fighter for us is going to be Callum. Callum using his dimensional robos. Dimension Police as a whole did get new things. They have another stride, of course. And they also have units specifically designed for decks that haven't been used in a while because of how few things they have. One of which is a new Enigman card, and another one was announced after the update, but there is one in the game. The second one being a Zeal card. Callum rides a perfect guard starting out and gets a critical when Jai no guards. Jai heals the critical damage. And we have grade 2. With Ishin. Calls a Puzzle Eerie to the rear. 9k is blocked with a 0 because it doesn't have that skill yet. And 14k at the Vanguard is not guarded. And Jai criticals. And unlike Jai, Callum can't heal on the second damage. He does get a trigger on the second damage, it just happens to not be a heal. Grade 2 ride is Kaizard, which actually could be really good for later. And Callum was very intent on hitting that rear guard. Not sure why. Considering what it does, I wouldn't call it a high priority threat. But maybe Callum has a reason for it. Well, its ability to become a Silent Tom is a problem. It can only do it once per game because it takes a Soul Blast too, and out of all the clans in the Dark Zone, this is probably the one that's going to be getting the least amount of soul in a game. It has almost no soul regeneration tools. The only ones it has that are really triggers. A draw trigger that gives 3k to a unit, and the critical trigger, which the critical trigger is good. Don't get me wrong. It's just, are you really going to use it for that specifically? That was the new stride for Dimension Robos, by the way. Dimension Police, by the way. Super Cosmic Hero X Rogue. If its power is 37,000 when it hits, you can draw a card and retire one of your opponent's cards. Of course, his Callum's power was only 31,000. Chrono Jet Dragon's ability on stride, it returned Go Yusha to the bottom of the deck. And if Law Stage hits, something else is going to go as well. Not only that, but that unit right there, Mesuen, or Mesuhide? Yeah, Mesuhide. Its ability unflip the damage, which basically made Chrono Jet Dragon free. Then use the counter blast that he saved in order to get the Ilulu to the hand, and the Ilulu is now 21,000 because of 2 triggers, one of which is the critical. Mesude is once per turn, so even though he's sending another unit to the bottom of the deck, he can't do it again. This is a 28,000 attack. And Callum takes it. Callum at 5 damage already, thanks to the critical trigger. Using Stride, not using Break Ride. He could have Break Road Dayusha and tried to go for game, but the chances of him getting game on that are low, so I understand why he didn't do it. Attacks 26,000 to the Vanguard. First check is a heal. Very helpful in this situation. Perfect guard just as much, and Commander Laurel. I didn't see what ban list is being used. It's probably the current one in effect. I believe the new one takes place starting Valentine's Day, which as of this recording is tomorrow. But I'm not 100% sure. It could either be March 1st or tomorrow, one or the other. To be honest, it kind of doesn't matter at this point. So now Jai is using Stride again, gets out Ragnarok, which means that this is going to be 2 critical, and also means that Callum can only guard from his hand with grade 1 or higher. Callum did get a perfect guard last turn though, so he has guard. He can defend himself. And back to the combo. Chrono Jet Counter Blast 1 to move something to the bottom, and Masude Soul Blast 1 to unflip the damage. Of course, now Puzzle Area is on the field, but it can't use its ability because there's not enough soul. And this is why I was saying before that Callum might have made a mistake in attacking that rear guard so heavily early on. He could have hit Jai with a critical trigger and done some pretty big damage on him for it. Drops a perfect guard and gets rid of a heal trigger. Oh, he can do it because he used the Lucky Pot Draco Kid skill. Okay. Damage check is a Die Kaiser. Unfortunate because that could have actually ended the game had he drawn it. Activating Stride once again. Commander Laurel wanted the cards taken to the discarded for it. Interesting choice, but I don't think he wants to command enough hand to actually use it properly, so I can only assume that's the reason. So now we see Dark Superman Omega, and with its ability, he can Callum can counterblast 2, Soul Blast 1, and put Die Brave into the Soul. And what this does from here is that now the entire front row of Jai's field is going to lose power equal to Die Brave, so everything is minus 7,000. Chrono Jet is at 4,000, Ilulu is at 4,000, and Puzzle Area is at 2,000. Callum attacks without doing anything else. Jai doesn't have a reason to guard other than fear of double critical. But unless he has a perfect guard in hand, it's a lot to guard. So he drops the perfect guard. critical in one of the triple check and the Die Kaiser. So at this point, it can be left to assume that Jai is going to use Ragnarok once again. If Callum has another perfect guard, he can defend himself from it. If not, he's going to have a hard time. Chrono Jet Dragon's skill can't activate because there's nothing to put at the bottom of the deck. Puzzle Eerie can't activate because there's 0 soul. So he's going straight into the attacks using Ragnarok's skill. Callum drops a perfect guard. If I was him, I would have kept the critical trigger for guard, but Callum must have an idea of what he wants to do. Drops a heal trigger for that. More than what he needed to do. Oh, now I see why his hand is filled with zeros. Gets his cross break ride. I mean, not cross break ride, I mean break ride Legion. Counterblast 1 for the break ride skill. Returns Great Dayusha. Another Great Dayusha. Heal trigger. And another heal trigger. So he has a Great Die Kaiser in hand, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 grade 3s out of deck so far. Callum starts by attacking the Puzzle Eerie. Not sure how I feel about that or if I agree. 41k to the Vanguard. And Jai is going to have a really difficult time blocking this because double guard break. It also does have 3 critical. Drops a perfect guard. Gets an unflip for it and then drops another 10, 20. So that's a 41, 51. So 1 grade 3 ends this because double guard break. He thinks that's 2 grade 3s, but it's only 1 because because 2 guard breaks for 1 grade 3. Yes, and he realizes break ride is in effect as well. Break ride and Legion skill combined. Jai realizes he has to rethink his situation. He's keeping it like this. So if so 1 grade 3 and it hits. If he was gonna bank it on that, he might as well have just kept the perfect guard and kept everything else in hand just in case. Check heal trigger. Gets the heal. but he needs a grade 3 here in order to hit, and it's a grade 1. Limit Remover. Now, if Jai had actually kept that critical trigger in hand, the critical triggers in hand, he could have played them now onto the field, and as a result of that, he could have actually is he able to return that to the bottom? Okay. Yeah, Chrono Jet doesn't discriminate grades. Most units do. Callum guards the first attack, probably taking the Vanguard. Callum doesn't guard. That was a draw, not a check. Draw trigger. Grade 1 and grade 2. So let's see Callum's damage check. Jai said he drew a crit from that. Too unfortunate for him. Damage check is another true Daikaiser. And unless he has a grade 0 in hand or a perfect guard, Callum can't block this. Actually, no, Callum can't block this. He needed that to be a trigger. If that was a trigger, he could have guarded. Good games, and on to the next fight.